All right, folks, we'll be joined by Cody Full in just a second. Welcome back to the show. You know, we talked so much about the IRS case. Let's not forget everything else that's going on, including the Veterans Administration scandal, the people who died waiting to be seen, a travesty of justice, a travesty to our veterans who deserve so much better. And there was a House Committee on Veteran Affairs convened today and also heard from the Veteran Administration's Assistant Secretary of Human Resources. And he was questioned about a climate, a culture of bonuses. Over a 3-year period in the Phoenix healthcare system alone, in the VA, we had, I want to get this right now, we had $10 million in bonuses at the same time that this horrific thing was going on, the waiting list, the duplicating of the books, you name it. And VA-wide, across the whole VA, you talk about a culture of bonuses, $400 million in performance bonuses over that same 3-year period. I mean, even during the best of times, that seems outlandish. But considering the performance and what we know now about the VA, and in these tough economic times, where did they come up with it's our $400 million, by the way, to give out in bonuses? It just, again, just another scandal, another travesty that the media probably isn't that interested in, and that's unfortunate. Okay, let's say hello right now to retired U.S. Army Specialist Cody Full. He was a roommate and platoon mate of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl, who is now back in the United States. And Cody, welcome to the show, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. You know, there's been a lot said, and I want you to hear right here what Susan Rice had to say when she went on the Sunday shows one day after the president announced that the deal had been made and Sergeant Bergdahl had been secured. Here's what she said.
Anybody who's been held in those conditions in captivity for 5 years has paid an extraordinary price. But that is really not the point. The point is that he's back. He's going to be safely reunited with his family. He served the United States with honor and distinction.
Okay, honor and distinction. When you heard that, what did you do? What did you say? What went through your mind?
Well, I've addressed this before, but okay, I testified before Congress on Wednesday.
Right,
and
right.
Sitting next to me was Darren Andrews' father. Lieutenant Darren Andrews took an RPG round to his body after he pushed another soldier down and gave his life for another soldier. That's serving with honor and distinction. The fact of the matter is, Bowe Bergdahl would not have been held in captivity had he not deserted. So him deserting is not serving with honor and distinction, and it's a spit in the face to every U.S. service member who has served with honor and distinction, who has fulfilled his oath. It's disgusting.
When you did testify, and I saw some of it, when you testified before Congress this week, and you talked about what you believe should happen to Bergdahl. How did it feel? I mean, because on one hand, and I'm with you, I mean, all the evidence I've seen, I know he's not guilty until he's proven guilty, but all the evidence I've seen from folks like you and the New York Times reprinting the letter he left and the emails from his father and the whole thing indicate that he deserted. So I'm with you. But how did it feel for you, who once had a relationship, and speak of that relationship, what kind of relationship it was, but as you sat there before Congress, how'd you feel?
You know, I was just telling the truth. I've been telling the truth the whole time, so it was just another audience for me to tell the truth to. I think that this shouldn't end with a hearing that was on Wednesday. I think there definitely needs to be a congressional oversight committee that looks into why Bowe Bergdahl left and into the investigation that is going to be done by the Department of Defense, because, you know, anybody can go ahead and look at the past military in the last 6-7 years and see that there's been countless generals and admirals and very high-ranking officials who have been either forced to resign, fired, reprimanded, that didn't agree with a certain somebody. So I don't want to see this get whitewashed.
Do you have fears? I mean, for the President of the United States, I mean, you got to figure, Cody, that he knew as much as you knew, if not more. That, you know, Susan Rice knows or knew as much as you knew, if not more. She's National Security Advisor, for crying out loud. And yet, They celebrated this in the Rose Garden with the parents. He had to know that the father wrote that all Gitmo prisoners should be free and that, you know, God will take, I'm paraphrasing, revenge for every dead Afghani child, and that he stood in the Rose Garden and he said something about Allah, and you know, and he told his son to follow his conscience when it came to, you know, wanting to desert or leave. So, I mean, what do you think is up here?
Well, I mean, everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows he deserted. The Army knows. They have all the documentation on it. The administration knew he deserted. They knew that there would be, you know, they knew he wasn't a hero. They knew that he wasn't captured on a battlefield or lagged behind on patrol. They knew he went out and deserted on his own and sought these people out. And yet they thought they could have, you know, a ticker parade and a Rose Garden ceremony, which is gross. You know, how many soldiers that have given their lives honorably for this country, how many of their parents had a Rose Garden ceremony?
And how about the soldiers, and how many of them did you know, Cody, who I believe there were 6 who directly died, as from what I heard, looking for him, and then there were other circumstances that were created, maybe a base that didn't close because of him, that others, many others that died, you know, kind of adjacent to the actual search. How many of those did you know, and what about, you know, their parents and their memory and their honor?
Well, okay, so once he deserted, for the next about 3 months, every operation was meant to find this guy. So in the amount of time people were looking for this guy, people did die in Afghanistan. You know, and I don't know how many. But, I mean, you can go back and look at this time period, and once Dust 1 is called up, which is duty status, whereabouts unknown, every asset is pushed to that effort. It's in sort of kind of like a broken arrow call. You're trying to find your guy. You're trying to get him as quickly as possible. So for about 3 months, everybody was looking for this guy. Missions were completely changed, and, you know, there's people that died during that time period looking for that guy.
And at this point, did you know, as his former roommate and platoon mate, did you and some other, well, just speak for yourself, did you know or suspect that he had deserted while you were looking for him?
Yeah, we knew he deserted within, like, the first couple hours, like within probably, like, 30, 40 minutes.
And that was because of what? The note that was left or past actions? What?
Well, you just started connecting the dots. He left all his gear, some questions he asked other people, previous statements he had made in the past, and then we went into the village, you know, right afterwards, and there were school children saying there was an American crawling around on his stomach through some grass by himself. There was a teacher in a clergy, like a preacher, that said the exact same thing. 2 days later on a radio, you know, we heard they were talking that he was, when he came into town, he was looking for somebody that spoke English and had some water for him. So it was evident. Everybody knows. Everybody in Afghanistan at the time knows he was a deserter.
All right, then let me take you back, and I don't want to make this more political for you than you want it to be, but I will ask you again. You knew this. Everyone knew what you just said. The administration knew. State Department. Everyone knew. Military knew. DOD knew. So what do you think the motivation was, and how much harm does it do to a commander-in-chief and to a Defense Department that honors, you know, makes a big deal in the Rose Garden, brings the parents, honors this man, and trades 5 Taliban leaders for him? What does it do? Why do you think it was done, in your opinion, and it's only your opinion, and what does it do to morale and to people like you who want to serve going forward?
I don't know why it was done. I have no idea. My guess would be that they thought there'd be a fallout from them trading 5 terrorists for someone. I don't think that they thought that we would come out and speak in the volumes that we are speaking in. Well, they underestimated us there. It's just wrong on so many levels. They knew. Everybody knew this. There's countless documents on Bergdahl that need to be released. I'm not lying.
Were you asked, Cody, were you asked to sign a non-disclosure form?
Some other people were asked to sign an official non-disclosure form. I was asked to sign a media gag order. I couldn't talk to the media about this.
This was at the time. This was at the time, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And did you sign it?
Yeah, I did.
And do you know if this is commonplace? Because everybody I've talked to said this is unheard of. Have you ever heard of this happening with anybody else or anything else?
I haven't heard of somebody deserting like this, so no. I mean, this is the first time I ever dealt with something like this.
Yeah. And your media, was there a time limit on that? I guess as long as you were active, now you can speak, obviously. Was there a time limit on what you signed?
I don't remember if there was a time limit or not. I just always felt that I could be maybe accountable if I was still in the Army and he was still in captivity overseas.
One more for you.
Now that he's home and I'm out of the Army.
One more for you, Cody. We only have 30 seconds. You know that some on the left have called you guys swift boaters, a reference to what the former people who served with John Kerry did to him when he was running for president. You take offense to that?
Nobody called me a swift boater at the hearing.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad. I'm glad. All right, listen, thank you for coming on, Cody, and, you know, keep up your fight for what you feel is right. I appreciate you sharing with us, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Retired U.S. Army Specialist Cody Full. He was Sergeant Bergdahl's former roommate and platoon mate, and his very definite opinions as to what he believes happened. And, again, just more evidence, in my mind. I mean, how could you doubt by now what really happened? I know he hasn't been tried yet. He will be, hopefully. But my goodness, all the evidence points one way. We're coming back with the panel. Don't go away. Steve Malzberg Show.